Well, as we've been telling you all morning, a shocker as Patrick Brown abruptly quitting as PC party leader as allegations of sexual misconduct surfacing. This coming 5 months ahead of the provincial election. That was just last night, the 39-year-old holding this press conference here, very emotional. He made no mention of the sexual misconduct aspect of the allegations, but that he would defend himself vigorously. So a lot of questions now, big day in Ontario politics, the what is next. So joining me now, Jim Warren, political strategist. Is this, number one, was it a shock last night when all of this came out?
It was a political bombshell. I mean, you hear rumors and innuendo about politicians or things could go bad for them, but you never expect it to actually happen the way it did last night. And so clearly, you know, I think Patrick Brown, when we see these pictures of him in the news conference, he was also in shock, not just the allegations, but the fact that his staff resigned en masse and left him alone. And so that's why you have these terrible pictures. It was such a bad news conference is because there was no staff there to tell him what to do or to protect him.
So did he have really a choice? Because there's a little gap between the press conference, 9:45, and then the 1:30 statement. Did he really have a choice but to step aside?
He didn't, but I don't think he realized it. And even he got pushed over the ledge at 1 o'clock last night, I think, for him to actually resign and quit. So I think he thought he could survive this somehow. The allegations aside, when your staff resign, that's the real knife to the heart, because those are the people who circle the wagons to protect you. And so as soon as the staff, then the caucus goes, everyone else follows in suit, and you really have no choice but to resign. Let's
talk a little bit about next steps. Who would be in line to replace him as a, again, 5 months before a provincial election?
Well, with every political tragedy, there's a winner and maybe multiple winners here. So I think you sort of saw 3 winners from yesterday. One, potentially who the candidates could be to replace. So in caucus, there's Lisa Raitt, Vic Fideli, or would be 2 people who would be sort of high-profile caucus members with a lot of credibility. Then you have 2 star candidates, Carolyn Mulroney and Rod Phillips, who have been recruited by the party to run. Those are really established, well-known people within the party and have some credibility with the media. And then I actually think the best candidate would be our Mayor John Tory. He has the credibility. He's the complete opposite of Patrick Brown. He has, knows how to get votes in Toronto, and he's been there before. And I always say, in order to learn how to win an election, you have to lose an election first. He's done that before, but whether he'd want the job, I know, is another question altogether.
Yeah, a lot of people are saying, now you're sitting in the eyes of Premier Kathleen Wynne. Does she see this? What are her next steps? Because how does she proceed in her campaigning now?
Right. So she really is the glass half full, half empty situation for her. On the one hand, she's now bought herself some time, and she can spend the next several months selling her campaign platform without having the attacks from the opposition that she would get otherwise. So she can sell more of her positive message. At the same time, they would have put together campaign attack ads. They'd have a playbook to beat Patrick Brown. And I was actually thinking that she had a good shot to beat Patrick Brown. A lot of her positives play against his negatives. And so now there's a real roll of dice. They don't know who they're going to run against. The other big winner last night was Andrea Horwath of the NDP, and she's perhaps the biggest winner of all. We haven't heard about the NDP. They've been very low profile, and all of a sudden they will be the de facto opposition. And so Andrea is now going to be able to suck up all this political oxygen and try and sell the NDP platform where the PCs would have been able to do that otherwise.
A lot to digest here in the next few months. The question is, should Patrick Brown have stepped aside completely, even as an MPP, and just said, I cannot be involved at all in politics?
We are in a new time and era. The speed with which these issues move. So really what he should have done last night, I think, was sit back and wait for the story to develop, then talk to his caucus members and do something public today. Unfortunately, he kind of sped up his own downfall by having perhaps the worst political news conference in the history of politics here in Ontario.
Jim, appreciate your insight. Thank you so much. That's Jim Warren, political analyst, and the story continuing to develop. Of course, Patrick Brown stepping down as PC leader. We're going to take a break here. You're watching BT. It is 7:20.